Good morning, guys. So I'm out here again having a morning coffee, and I thought I'd share thought of the day. Today I wanted to talk about a concept that Nathiel had brought through before he signed off, and Archangel Anathiel is, through the channel sessions, expanding on it, and which is the adjustment to the new energy coming in, the new frequency. And, you know, this is where things get a little bit ungrounded because it's all new, and they're talking about it from a sense of energy perspective. So it takes some getting used to as far as understanding where they're coming from and how does that relate to our everyday physical life. I love working as a channel, love the information they bring through, but I'm very big on, if it doesn't actually tell me how I can, you know, walk into a supermarket and pick up a loaf of bread more effectively, what does that have to do with our everyday life? So I like the information definitely being grounded. So I will attempt to explain it in a way that's, you know, in a grounded way, but it's going to go off the reservation for a little bit. Nathiel went ahead and discussed the part that he brought in was the fact that it's time for us to look at, take up a challenge of start changing I to we. And it was a spiritual aspect or energetic frequency aspect as well as for a physical aspect, which is that being honest and talking about the changes that we see going on, you know, people going without food, without benefits, the whole big risk with our health insurance going on, because reality is that if we don't get the bonuses as far as for signing up for health insurance, and that cost gets passed to the American family, we're not going to be able to afford insurance for many of us. I could tell you right now, looking at our household, I'm on a life-sustaining drug. If this household has to go ahead and pay full price insurance premium, we can't afford it. So what does that mean? That means I don't get my life-sustaining drug. So what does that mean? That means that realistically, I'll be dead in a year. You know, I will have to pass. And would I mind that? Well, I mean, it is what it is. You know, I've cheated death for probably about 10 years now. I should be gone. So, you know, should I be complaining? But at the same time, you know, for the work that I'm doing, voice silence, the potential of what could be brought through, what we're actually learning through the channel sessions, and, you know, how to really be of service and help people, you know, is that fair? And life isn't fair, because that's the way we create it to be. You know, we're more interested in power, we're more interested in control, we're more interested in, you know, a particular viewpoint being right over the human condition. And those may seem like harsh words, but I point to the reality that we live within. You know, if that wasn't a true statement, we wouldn't be dealing with what it is that we're dealing with. You know, and it's not just here in this country, this is happening all over the place. So, you know, when Nathiel said, Judgment Day has come and passed, and you have judged yourselves, brothers and sisters, harshly, you know, this is what he was talking about, because from that point on, all of these effects started coming into play. So what was the judgment? You know, that in mass, because you got to remember, when it comes down for that, it's not a creation that's done by what I say. You know, I can white light all I want, but what about my other brothers and sisters within society? You know, oh, it's going to transform that, because love can transform any energy. When you understand free will, you know, if they don't wish to participate in what it is that I'm spreading, then they don't participate. So you have to take that into account when it comes into group mind changes. And so while we're holding our breath and waiting to see what happens, you know, as a community, we're supposed to be communicationalists, bringing through information that's important, you know, healers, you know, and all the other modalities that go with them. Sorry, it's morning, so I can normally list them like this, but my brain is fogged. What are we doing to prepare for this? You know, I had a experience recently where someone went ahead and offered for readers to come in and donate their time and their gifts for people to go ahead and make donations to a food bank. And I thought, cool. I can come in and do rune readings or channelings, whatever it is that people want. And I'll spend the day there giving my energy to this to go ahead and collect money or canned goods or whatever for the food banks to stock them up for this time period for the people that are hungry can eat. And the person went ahead and put this into a chat room that was filled with no one but in the community. And every single one said they were too busy. They had something else going on. They had something else planned. And, you know, am I saying that everyone should have dropped what they were doing, dropped their classes, dropped their events to reroute and do this? No. So what am I saying? Every single one was busy? Every single one. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. And so, isn't it interesting? As a community, we stand in front of people and say we are of service. And we talk a good game about how we're here to go ahead and, you know, service the community and to heal, you know, to bring connection, blah, 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 blah. Whatever lofty, spiritual, high-frequency words you want to throw on that. And no one wanted to donate time. And that pattern is just not the, you know, also not with that situation. I watched my husband try to organize a charity event. And every single person he asked when he talked about it being charity, immediately afterwards, he got shunned until he dropped the subject. No one was willing to help. No one was willing to do. And even in the chat room that was in, did anyone say, can you move this so that more of us can attend? One person did. One person did, so I give that credit. Did any of them that said they couldn't say, how can I donate canned goods and drop them off to support this cause because I'm busy? Not one. Not one. And to me, looking at going back to the foundation of what Nathiel had said, as a member of the community, of watching all these people stand there telling how, you know, you can't get them to shut up about being in the light and how they're here for this time period, that's their purpose, and how I'm all about the service, to have that consistent reaction throughout the community. And not everyone, those are two experiences of looking at it, but it's not the only ones that I've seen like that. But it's enough of it to go ahead and call it a pattern. I feel comfortable saying that. I don't feel comfortable saying that it's everyone, because I'm sure there's plenty of people that can come on here and share what they do to donate their time. But, you know, why not be willing to help? Why do the talk but not do the walk? You know, and understand my perspective. This is the community that stands there and tells you to believe that the universe supports you, that the universe will always supply abundance. You pay for their services, love donations, whatever you want to call it, to hear this. But when it comes right down to it, to helping someone in need, I don't believe that if I donate my time, that the universe will support me. I believe that I've got to focus on only getting cash in hand to support me. What? I'm not understanding. Do you understand it? Can you explain it to me? Because I don't understand it. And to be fair, those of us in the community that are working, and I've said this before and I'm going to say it again because I think it's very important for people to really hear this. I'm blessed. My husband actually supports what I do so I can get this off the ground. So that I can find a way to be self-supporting in this household and have it bring in some type of income. And looking at it, would you go to work and do the work first and then hope that your boss pays you later on? We do. Do you polish yourself for your profession, whatever that may be, to be the best that you possibly can be, and then go into work and just sit there? No one's interested. We do. The outer community that we serve does not understand how difficult it is for us to be able to do what it is that we're doing and be able to go home to our husbands and wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, and stand there and say that physically that what we do justifies our life. As far as the bills in the household, being able to go out and do things, have a meal, go out to eat, plan a vacation, to make it look like it's secure. The people that I know that are able to successfully get an income, they're tired. It's all they're doing. They don't rest. They're constantly on the run. And why? Well, in this situation, unless you phrase the event in a way that would go ahead and attract people, very general words, what you're going to receive, upliftment, healing, joining, community, things that would attract people in because of what they believe they don't have, and keep it in a positive, upbeat note, people don't want to pay. People don't want to spend the money. I went out with the hubby last night for a meal. We got 2 steaks, 2 sides, and an appetizer. No special drinks, just water. And ended up paying $98. And it was an okay steak. The potato was dry. The mac and cheese was quite honestly bland. And not that I should be having that, but And I paid $98 for that. But going ahead and finding people willing to pay and understand the value of what it is, the services that you get when you come into a store and ask for a reading, is difficult at best, at least from my experience. I had 2 readings yesterday, spent 8 hours in a store, and I got 2 15-minute readings, and great girls, loved them. But they came in out of a curiosity. It was fun, something to do. They weren't looking for truly to find purpose or to really go ahead and, let's dig into this. Let's get real. Most people that do show up, it's a curiosity. It's a fun event. It's like, oh, let's get our aura read. Let's get a picture and see what that looks like. It's nothing serious. It's not really taking advantage of the services. And that doesn't speak of everybody on a whole, but it speaks of a general trend. And so, in fairness to the people that said no, do they really have a choice? How much are they striving and pushing just to go ahead and make rent? They're not as lucky as I am. At the end of the month, rent comes due. And, the landlord don't want to hear nothing about no service and your good intentions. Do you have the money or not? We live by the same rules everyone else does. And so I wanted to go ahead and paint the other side of it as well, to be fair. Now, the purpose of all that is I to we. Why is that so important? One, the new energy coming in is about expansiveness, love, higher frequency. I don't know if love is exactly the correct word to term it, but it certainly is higher frequency. And one of the things that I know is that when we do creations and we're going ahead and trying to manifest something, well, we're not trying to manifest something of a lower frequency than what we're currently holding. I love the great benefits, but I'd love a job that goes ahead and where I can't afford, the health insurance premiums. I'm going to aim for that. We never say that. We say that we want something better, which, holds more energy, is a higher frequency. And when we attempt to go into a higher frequency without changing ours first, it creates what Spirit calls distortions. And how do you explain that? Picture the room where you're in right now, there's light bulbs on. What happened if I snap my fingers and turn those lights 5 times brighter? Your eyes would unfocus. You'd close them. You'd have a distortion in sight. So when we're creating, we think of it as simple as going on the interviewing, going after the new job. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go in for the new job. But what it really comes down to is that we're walking in and creating a higher frequency. We're trying to go from whatever frequency we are into the new frequency that's higher. And if we haven't raised our vibration before we attempt to make the physical change, we're in the room with the light suddenly turning 5 times brighter as we approach it. And so we're in the interview, but we don't feel like we belong there. In fact, there's a part of us telling us we know we don't belong there. You're not going to get this. And we say that's ourself doubting ourselves. And what it actually is we're moving into a frequency that we have no experience with. Because again, we're not asking for something less than what we have. We're asking for something more. And it's a rare occasion that we have something more and we fall back and we say, I want to reclaim what by right of consciousness is mine. And we step forward again. It's always by right of consciousness, by right of demanding, I'm going to step into this new frequency because I demand it. But we don't know what's there. We're not comfortable with. And we don't take in consideration if we raised our frequency where we were, we would actually be pulled towards it effortlessly and experience synchronicity towards what we want versus what we don't want. When we don't raise our frequency and try to move forward, we receive synchronicity of that you don't belong here and the push back. And everything that can go wrong does go wrong. It's still synchronicity. Synchronicity is always in play. The key is, are you in frequency with what it is you're giving your attention to or not? And so in this situation, looking at an energy of being in a higher frequency, and this is what's important. This new energy that comes in, everyone claims is higher frequency. Yay! Grab a crystal and celebrate. Do you understand what that means? Do you understand the implications? Do you understand how that's going to affect your physical life? Because you're standing still and the energy is slowly rising and getting higher and higher. You're not even doing anything. You're just trying to get through the day, to get to the supermarket, to grab a loaf of bread. You're not trying to make a change. But now you're in a higher frequency. So what would that create? Just getting the loaf of bread? Distortions. And what comes up when you have a distortion? What is the purpose of thoughts and emotions? Thoughts and emotions are reactionary agents. Their purpose is to bring physical construct. They don't care what the intent is. That's not their purpose. They don't care about your purpose. That's not their purpose. Their purpose is to bring physical construct. And where do we pull from that physical construct? Well, it's not the new higher energy. We don't have any experience there. So how can we be pulling from that? So what must we pull from? The subconscious, the emotional body. And we all know what comes from there. That's what we pay for therapy bills for. And so what does this mean by this new energy and what's going to start happening if you haven't noticed it already? What's happening is karmic reactions, instant karma, when we're not even trying to create a change. We're not even trying to create a change. We're just trying to get through the day. And all of these issues are coming up. It's at the point where the twins, trauma and drama, used to drop by every once in a while. But now they're sleeping on the couch. We can't get rid of them. They're always there. And we say, what's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. This is the effect of the new energy. And when you play with energy in any scientific way, a chemist understands you have to understand the energy you're mixing. Because you can have an interesting reaction and you can have a dangerous reaction. And so what does it mean that the energy is raising? It means we're going to start having more and more experiences of chaos, simply just getting up and putting our feet on the floor. We're not even trying to make a change and manifest something. We're just trying to get through the day. And why? It's the natural side effect of being in a higher energy. Distortion gets created simply for going to brush your teeth. And boom, up comes trauma and drama. Because we're not changing to the higher frequency. We're holding the one we currently have and maintaining it. So how do you get through this? And this was Nathiel's teaching. And this is where Archangel Anathiel took over and went into it deeper. The whole aspect of I to we shifts our frequency and shifts our perspective. It works in harmony with the energy, not against it. It changes our frequency so that we can flow with it. So what does that mean? Well, it means that our back's against the wall, is what it means. We can choose not to change and continue having distortion after distortion after distortion after distortion. And after the while, the mind then tends to become unstable because of all the intensities and all the energy that we can't conceptualize, we can't process, that we don't have the tools to understand. And think about it this way. What do you do with a mind that can't go Marco Polo? It's a GPS coordinate. I am here. Well, if everything starts becoming distorted on more and more basis, on a more regular basis at a quicker level, then how do you know where you are? You lose your internal GPS. You don't know who you are. You don't know where you are. You don't know why you are. And it creates nothing but stress and anxiety, which then comes into projection. And if that doesn't describe what's happening within our society, I don't know what does. So why is it important? I goes to we, excuse me. Is because it changes our perception and focus into the point of working with the energy and changing frequency so that we move along with it. And they've said time and time again in Nathiel's teachings, this is the ending of the age of ego. And this is the beginning of the age of love, of being. So unless we switch from ego to being, we're not going to be in harmony of the energy of our own planet. The planet itself is shaking from the adjustment of the energy coming in. Are you shaking? Are you seeing your reality slowly crack? Are you seeing things that you can't compute? Is your life shaking from the changes, but you don't know why? I offer a perspective of what they've been teaching. The second part of we to I to we, sorry, is that it answers what's going on right now. Because realistically, we're looking at food budgets being cut. We're looking at health care being cut. And how is that going to affect our society? And the thing of it is that everyone's saying, I don't know why. I don't know why you're saying you don't know why. There was a plan that was put forward that made it clear within that plan. And I don't want to make this political. This is about intention. The intention of the document was clear. And this was part of the plan. Weaken the structures of society. Get rid of the weak. Have a culling happen. And see who survives. And that's who we focus on. That believes in a particular way, a particular style. So the fact that it's turning physically manifest and being chosen as bills, why is this happening? What do you mean? There's a playbook. Go read it if you haven't read it. Everything is going according to plan. So why, with all the insanity going on, is no one budging about these aspects of the healthcare and the costs and it being passed to the American people? Knowing the consequences of people that don't have enough to take that food away and say good luck. That it refuses to be budged upon. It's pretty clear. And in that upper view, that's a whole different conversation. I'm more interested in the lower view where, you know, crap rolls downhill, right where you are, right where you're sitting, and your neighbor next to you, and your neighbor to the other side, and your neighbors to two sides of them. That's what I'm interested in. Can I deal with this? Or do we need a we? Can I do it alone? Or do we need a we? And it's time, in all fairness, not just to the community within the New Age, for all of us to start changing I to we, because we are going to need each other. For the community, we have all these gifts, and I'm sorry, if you want to hate me for it, hate me for it. You want to criticize me for it, criticize me for it. But I've stood here listening to everyone say how they are here to be of service in this time of change. And Spirit Nathiel said in a lesson previously back when we were still in Concord, so it's probably about 6 months ago, and asked the question to the people in the community, and does your level of service require a payment in order for service to work? Because you're going to be severely disappointed. How are you truly serving? And that's a harsh one. Because again, that's why I spent the time going into the lifestyle of someone trying to survive, not live, survive in a community, to earn, to pay rent. And how difficult it is because people don't really want to support it. They don't understand the tool that's being placed upon them, or they've learned not to have faith in it. And that's an entirely different conversation as to why. But it still comes down to the point that if you're going ahead and saying that, well, step up. Step the F-bomb up. Because if these two things go into effect, you're not going to have your salary anyway. People don't have time to heal. or get readings, or even go to the stores if they got health concerns and food concerns. You know, there's my first teacher for our channel, the one that came through was named White Rock. And he said this all the time. You have to take care of the basics. If you don't have food, if you don't have shelter, if you don't have the ability to make an income, if you don't have your health, and there was another one, 5 pillars, then you don't have the foundation for a spirituality or a moral code. So we've got these great changes, and we're still focusing on, we're celebrating this new energy coming through, and we're still focusing on I. We haven't switched over to we, despite all the indications that's going on of that only we can get through this. I will not. But yet we're here to stand within this time to be of service. Doing what? Exactly. Doing what? And I bring it back to that point where a room full of people in the community, and let's volunteer to go ahead and get some hungry fed and stock up the food banks. No, I don't have time. I'm not willing to give my energy. I'm also, not willing to give you any canned goods where I can drop them off. I'm also not willing to have the date moved so that I can. Because it's not a matter of whether I can or not. I just don't want it to be where I'm free and can actually participate. What? And so consider for today, if anything I said jarred you, I know it's extremely uncomfortable. I know it's going to be, who the hell are you? I understand. Get on with it. Get jiggy with it. Hate me if you must. But what I said stands firm. And don't believe it, just be aware of it. Because if Spirit's right, you'll see it soon enough. There's usually always about a 3 month time period with what they say something that it starts happening. Usually quicker. And you'll see it for yourself. And the time to organize and get ready is not after certain bills possibly go through. You know, it's now. It's not doing it. It's talking about it and trying to align to say, how is it that we can get this done? How is it that we can organize for this? How could we be of service for this time of great change? And how do we survive? That's an important factor. How do we survive through this? How do I maintain my apartment? Because it's not time at this point to go ahead and go through and say, oh, I'm just going to stop my physical life and just, dedicate myself to this. That would be stupid. But how do we start bridging that gap and being open to the inspiration inside that's leading us from I to we? Thought of the day.